So here we have the MaxScale node. I'll increase the font size for readability. And I'm going to first try to see if it works. Well, what I did is I used MySQL to log in into the MaxScale host on port 4006. That's the round robin port. And I currently am logged in into a MySQL server. That's not entirely what I wanted to show. I wanted to show that we can get the node name from here. Sorry, something went wrong with the quotes. Let me fix that. All right, so now we can see the node name here that we are connected to. In this case, it's the master. We can do a similar thing where we actually, it's a bit of a shame that it's now connecting to this node. Yes, so you can see that here I show the node name, I start a transaction, begin. MaxScale will determine that I'm trying to start a transaction, so probably I'm going to perform a write query. Then I'm going to show yet again the node name, and in the meantime, MaxScale has moved my connection from one host to another, and it's doing that consistently over the same node in a cluster. And I can show that for a select query, it's actually sticking to the exact same connection. So this is a nice example to show off that actually MaxScale is a bit more intelligent than what you're used to with HF proxy. To show another example of the read connector, I can do a small sysbench and then show that it's distributing the queries evenly over the whole cluster. So now I'm going back to the ClusterControl page. In the overview here, the sysbench should, yes, there it is. You can see that a lot of queries are coming into the cluster. And if I click on show servers, it will show them separately per server. And if you can now scroll down, you can see in the overview that the queries are about, well, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 queries per host. So it's distributed evenly. Okay. Now let's move on to the other things that I wanted to show in the demo, because we have more features in this demo than just the Galera cluster and MaxScale. So let's create a new database node. The first one I wanted to show is the MySQL replication master. And then after I create a master, I will attach a slave to it and make it a master-slave type of cluster. So let's go for the host here. And yet again, it's similar to all the details I filled in earlier to add the Galera cluster to ClusterControl. We need to have like a host name, password to MySQL. We're going to spawn a new machine, so the password it's unnecessary to create it yet, but we do need a SSH user that is allowed to log in, and more specifically an SSH user without with an authorized key that's without a password. And of course we need a replication user with a replication password. So what I'm doing now is creating a replication user and password for this machine that I can later on create a slave underneath. And yet again, with a spinning icon up there, we can check the progress of the job. And it's doing exactly the same as when we installed or we imported the Galera cluster that existed. It's now going to log in into this host, going to tune some of the parameters within the OS. It's going to install some helper packages. And then depending on the choice of MySQL, it's going to install additional packages. So we think these packages should be installed on the host. We're detecting the number of CPU cores, total memory, and then tuning the myCNF accordingly. Also looking at the availability of disk space. If there's not enough disk space, it's no use installing anyway. And now it's at this moment installing the Percona package. And after it has performed that, it will create a database and grant the proper grants. So as you can see, it's installing the MySQL system tables and everything is done. And we should have over here a MySQL machine that is currently a master node. I think I'm a bit too quick here, because the master node is still registering. Yes, it's now online and functioning. And also the same interface as we're used to with the Galera cluster. We have similar tabs here. We have some of the tabs over here that are missing because it's not a Galera cluster. And the same here, we have the configurations in a similar fashion as the Galera configurations. Everything looks and feels the same. Now let's add a node to this master and to allow it to slave from this machine. Install the software. And if we would have had a load balancer set on this master, we can actually immediately add it to the load balancer and reload the configuration, and everything is done automatically for you. You don't have to take care of it yourself. So now let's add the node, and the node adding will be quite similar to adding the master node. If you look at the job output itself, it's doing exactly the same. It's logging in, it's trying to install the helper packages. But in addition to the MySQL installation, where you just install a new master and create all the tables, it will also copy all the files from the master to the slave. So once it has installed Percona and it has installed did it install InnoBackupX? I'm not sure yet, but it should do that during the installation. And this always takes a bit of time to install all the RPMs and sync the configuration from ClusterControl to this machine. There we go. There's a myCNF installing system tables. And now it says like everything is installed. Configuration does not use semi-sync reputation. Well, we don't indeed. It's starting up a netcat and then stream a copy from the master to this host. Here you can see the output from the backup. So the backup has succeeded and it has finished now. And only within a couple of minutes I have a working master slave. And that's like maybe 4 or 5 minutes now. And within 4 or 5 minutes I have a working master slave relation for my SQL cluster. And you can also see that it's immediately in sync with the master. It's waiting for the master to send a new event. Nothing is coming in here as write queries, so it doesn't have to catch up with a lot. Yeah, but it's really easy and flexible to create slaves this way. Postgres is performed in a similar way. If I look at this, we just fill in a similar dialog. We fill in the host name, the admin, password, and yet again the same authorized user to do things. And now it will create yet another new job to create a Postgres master. So it's almost the same as MySQL, a little bit less details. And we don't have to log into any of these hosts by ourselves.